Thanks for watching. This is YouTube Medical University. This time, I will talk about the importance of muscles and healthy life expectancy. Have you ever heard the term healthy life expectancy? This refers to the period during which you can live independently without needing nursing care or assistance from others. It's not just about living a long life, but about how healthy and true to yourself you can live, right? In fact, muscles are arguably the most important factor in extending your healthy life expectancy. Building muscle has various benefits. You become stronger and able to lift heavier things. That's not all. Building muscle boosts your basal metabolism, making weight gain more difficult. Also, by strengthening your inner muscles and core, your posture improves, which can help relieve shoulder stiffness and lower back pain. And since it lowers the risk of falling, you can also reduce the risk of fractures in the future. However, muscle mass decreases with age. Especially after the age of 60, the rate of muscle loss accelerates even more. That's why it's important to start early or as soon as you consider it. It's very important to work on building and maintaining your muscles. So, how can you build muscle? There is a medically correct way to build muscle. That is to correctly understand the two things I'm about to tell you. Just one of them isn't enough. Those are proper exercise and proper protein intake. These two go hand in hand. If you thought that's obvious, it's really about exercising enough and getting sufficient protein. Surprisingly, a lot of people aren't able to do this properly. So this time, I'll talk in detail about exercise and protein while introducing a convenient service that I actually use myself. By watching this video until the end, you'll find out how much protein you should actually be taking, what signs your body shows when you're lacking protein, what kind of exercise you should do, and how much after taking protein, and tips on how to make it a habit. This video covers all of these topics. This may be a bit long, but please stay until the end. In the second half of the video, I'll also talk about how I, who used to struggle with making exercise a habit, managed to start working out regularly, how much my weight changed, and share my personal experiences as well. Now, here's today's agenda. In the first section, I'll introduce some surprising facts about muscle mass and health. Next, I'll explain how to check for muscle deficiency. Then comes the section you've been waiting for. I'll talk about the recommended amount of protein intake from a doctor's perspective. And in the fourth section, I'll introduce the signs that appear in your body when you start to lack protein. If any of these apply to you, you might be lacking protein. And in the fifth section, I'll talk about what kind of meals I actually ate to build muscle. This time I challenged myself to lose weight while gaining muscle. And amazingly, I lost 3 kilograms in a month and will share the meal plan that helped. And in the sixth section, the part you've been waiting for, I'll introduce the best exercises to do, especially for those of you who have struggled to develop a regular exercise habit. So first, in the first section, I'll share some surprising facts about muscles and health. As I mentioned at the beginning, the amount of muscle we humans have changes as we age. Generally, our muscle mass peaks in our late 20s to early 30s. And after that, it gradually decreases. That's the general trend. In other words, once it reaches its peak, it's really important to focus on maintaining your muscle mass. Today is the youngest day of your life. I'm going to talk about what you can do to maintain your current muscle mass 10 or 20 years from now. According to a survey by the Ministry of Health, Labour and Welfare, it's said that muscle mass drops sharply after your 60s. Specifically, after the age of 60, it's said that muscle mass decreases by about 1 to 2% per year. In other words, if you consider your muscle mass at age 60 to be 100, the speed at which muscle mass decreases for those whose muscle loss progresses quickly, there's a possibility that by the time they reach 80, they could lose as much as 40% of their muscle mass. So in 20 years it could drop to half.
Isn't that surprising? And what happens as your muscle mass decreases like this? You start walking more slowly, going up and down stairs becomes difficult, and carrying heavy things while shopping becomes tough.
And the risk of falling increases. Various effects on daily life start to appear. There's a point unique to Japanese people that we need to watch closely. Japanese people are known to have an issue with long working hours. Sitting for long periods of time means that you are not using the muscles in your lower body for a long time. In fact, it's even said that sitting for long periods of time carries about the same risk of shortening your lifespan as smoking cigarettes. If you sit for more than 8 hours a day, people who sit for long periods have a 60% higher risk of death compared to those who don't. There is even research data to support this. I think you can now understand just how much losing muscle mass negatively affects your health. Nowadays, the term muscle activity, or kinkatsu, has become popular. So please, I hope you'll learn in the next session how you can maintain the muscle you currently have. Although I may sound like I'm speaking confidently, to be honest, I also struggled a lot to develop an exercise habit. However, after I found a certain method, I was able to exercise regularly. As for that method, I'll discuss it mainly in part 6 later in the video, so please watch until the end. Now, in the second part, we'll find out whether the amount of muscle you currently have is actually insufficient. While watching the video, I'll show you how to tell if you're lacking muscle. I'll introduce 3 ways to check, and since you don't need a grip strength meter or any special equipment, they're all easy to do, so please give them a try. The first way to check if you're lacking muscle is called the finger ring test. This is a way to check the amount of muscle in your calves. It's simple to do. Make a ring with your thumb and index finger like this. Try making this ring around the thickest part of your calf. If your index finger doesn't touch, you have enough muscle, but if your index finger touches or overlaps, there's a high chance your muscle mass is decreasing. What I want you to be careful about is, just because your fingers overlap here, it doesn't always mean you have low muscle mass. Try this monthly to see if it gradually decreases. Use this as a guideline to track changes. Here's the second test for muscle mass. This is the chair stand test. It's simple. Sit and stand from a chair 5 times. There are some key points to how you do this. If possible, prepare a chair without a backrest. Sit on the chair without a backrest and cross your arms like this. From this position, stand up and sit down 5 times. Stand up and sit down, stand up and sit down. If it takes you more than 12 seconds to do this movement 5 times, it may be a sign that your lower body strength is declining. Please give it a try. It's surprisingly difficult. Here is the third way to check if you're lacking muscle. This is the one-leg standing test. It's a test to check your balance and lower limb strength. This is also easy to do. First, place both hands on your hips. Then, try standing on one leg in this position. It's okay to keep your eyes open. If you can stand on one leg for 15 seconds or less and you're under 65 years old, or for 10 seconds or less if you're 65 or older, there's a higher chance that your muscle strength or balance ability has decreased. Please give it a try. If you tend to wobble or fall, do this where you have something nearby to hold on to. Actually, when I first tried this test myself, my balance was especially poor, and there were times when it was difficult for me to stand on one leg for 15 seconds. However, as I'll explain in more detail later, after I started exercising with an online fitness service called Lean Body, my balance improved significantly. In this way, you can effectively train your muscles at home, so even someone like me, who isn't very good at exercise and is a beginner, found it easy to get started. Hearing this so far, you might also want to maintain the muscles you have now or strengthen them even more. Maybe you're worried you might not have enough muscle strength. If you're wondering if it's still possible to do something about it starting now, from the third section onward, I'll introduce important ways to consume protein to prevent muscle loss. Many of you may have tried to be conscious about protein, but ended up giving up after just a few days, right? I was the same way. It's tough to calculate how many grams of protein you need, and make sure you eat that amount every day. In the second half of the video, I'll also introduce some convenient ways to easily keep track of your daily protein intake without having to do any calculations. Please make sure to watch the second half as well. Let's review what we've covered so far. Muscle mass gradually decreases with age after reaching its peak. I explained it drops quickly, especially after your 60s. And as simple ways to check for muscle deficiency, I introduced 3 tests: the finger ring test, the chair stand test, and the one-leg standing test. So in the third part, in order not to lose muscle and to maintain and even increase it, I will explain how you should consume protein. This is what I use to manage my daily protein intake. It uses the latest technology and has a meal management function. I use this service. With this service, you can easily calculate calories and protein just by taking a picture of your meal. I use a service called Lean Body. As shown in this video, if you use Lean Body, just by taking a picture of your meal, it uses artificial intelligence technology to recognize the food, and it calculates the calories and protein content for you. And since you can easily record your daily meals, it helps you manage your diet continuously. I'm actually using it myself, and compared to what I used before, it's much easier because you can automatically manage protein and calorie intake just by taking a photo, unlike other services. And I can now quickly see trends in my eating habits, like if I'm consuming too much oil or not getting enough protein, so I've been able to adjust my daily nutritional balance. Managing protein intake is essential for building muscle and maintaining good health, but it used to be difficult to do. I think if you use a service like Lean Body, you'll be able to manage it continuously while having fun. In my case, I actually used this service and made sure to get 1.5 to 2 grams of protein per kilogram of my body weight each day. If you weigh 70 kilograms, that's about 100 to 140 grams. You'll get it once you try, but consuming this much protein in one day is actually difficult, and I only realized that after calculating. What happens if you don't get enough protein? Not only can your muscles decrease, but you may face higher disease risk, a weaker immune system, and visible changes in your hair and skin. That's what people are saying. So, in the fourth period, I'll introduce 5 dangerous signs that can occur when you don't get enough protein. Please make sure to check if any of these apply to you. Here are 5 changes that happen to your body when you don't get enough protein. The first one is this, an increased risk of diabetes. Isn't this surprising? We often associate diabetes with overeating. I think many people believe that, right? But actually, a lack of protein can also increase your risk of diabetes. 80% of our muscles are made of protein, and protein it helps us burn calories every day. When your muscles decrease, your basal metabolism and the calories you burn also go down, making it easier for your body to gain weight. So, even if you eat the same as before, you might gain weight more easily now than in the past. Does this sound familiar to anyone? When your muscles decrease and your metabolism slows down like this, the food you eat can't be used for energy and ends up being stored as fat. The amount of sugar in your blood increases, raising your blood sugar levels, and as a result, it's believed that your risk of diabetes goes up. Here's the second of 5 changes that happen to your body when you don't get enough protein. It's sarcopenia. Sarcopenia might sound like a difficult word in katakana, but it's simple. It means your muscle mass decreases. I've talked about this so many times before, so you probably already know. What actually happens when you develop sarcopenia and your muscle strength rapidly declines? For example, in daily life, you might start tripping over small steps more easily, or you might not be able to open jars that you used to be able to open. Carrying something heavy while shopping now makes you short of breath more easily. These types of changes, has anyone else experienced this? It's not only an issue for the elderly. Here's the third of 5 changes your body undergoes when lacking protein: reduced immunity. Lately, I seem to catch colds more easily. It's become easier for me to get infections. People like that may have a weakened immune system. The reason we can protect ourselves from germs is because the immune system plays a role in protecting our bodies. What's important in immunity are things called antibodies. Antibodies are substances that attach to foreign invaders like germs and work to eliminate them. These antibodies are actually made from protein, so when your protein levels drop, it's harder to make antibodies, which means you become more susceptible to catching colds and bacterial infections. These are the kinds of changes that can happen. The fourth change that happens to your body when you lack protein is the deterioration of your hair, skin, and nails. Our hair, skin, and nails are also made of protein. If you've noticed that your nails have become more brittle lately, or they're cracking due to dryness, or your skin condition has worsened, or your hair has become thinner or falls out more easily, these kinds of changes can also happen when your protein levels decrease. Protein is not only important for maintaining muscle mass, but also for keeping a youthful appearance. I think you can see just how essential protein is for both. Here are 5 ways your body can change without enough protein. The fifth is this: it becomes harder to control your appetite. That might be surprising, right? In fact, there are studies showing that getting enough protein actually helps suppress your appetite. On the other hand, if your protein intake drops, it becomes harder to control your appetite and the risk of overeating or binge eating increases. Especially when your protein intake is low, you tend to crave sweets uncontrollably. If you've been feeling like you're overeating lately or just eating a lot of sweets, it might be because your protein intake might be low, so I recommend you take a look at what you usually eat. Try to be mindful of how much protein you're getting. I've just introduced 5 changes that can happen to your body when you're lacking protein. These 5 symptoms don't necessarily occur just because your protein levels are low. They can also be caused by various other factors. If you're worried about any symptoms in your body, I recommend visiting your regular hospital or an internal medicine clinic to consult with a doctor. Let's review what we've covered so far. I introduced a service called Lean Body as a way to help you manage your protein intake. Just take a photo to calculate calories and protein, making daily nutrition management easy. And as for the changes that occur in your body when you start to lack protein, first, there's a higher diabetes risk, and second, sarcopenia or muscle loss. And third, a weakened immune system that makes you more susceptible to colds and infections. And fourth, deterioration of the skin, hair and nails. And fifth, I mentioned that it becomes especially difficult to control your appetite, leading to overeating, particularly of sweets. To keep these physical problems at bay, please, after this, please listen to how I became more mindful of my diet and how I incorporated exercise into my daily routine. At YouTube Medical University, I'm an active physician sharing simple, reliable videos to help you get healthier starting tomorrow. I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new videos. So, in the 5th period, I'll show you examples of my actual meals and explain how you can effectively get enough protein. First, I'd like to share one important point. Some people try to lose weight by dieting without consuming protein, but that method is very dangerous. If you try to lose weight by exercising while lacking protein, your body will enter a state of starvation. When your body is in a state of hunger, it tries to store more nutrients, which can actually make it harder for you to lose weight. When you're lacking protein, your muscle mass also decreases, which further lowers your metabolism and makes it even harder for you to lose weight. So, if you want to build a body that's easier to lose weight, it's really important to make sure you're getting enough protein when you're dieting. I myself actually increased my protein intake, built up my muscle mass, and took on the challenge of dieting. This is the diet I was actually following. As you can see, I made a conscious effort to eat plenty of fish and beans to make sure I was getting enough protein. When I didn't have much time in the morning, I made use of protein supplements and such to make sure I was still getting enough protein as effectively as possible. The muscles in our bodies are being rebuilt every day. Muscles are made up of individual muscle fibers, which are like strings. When you exercise or use strong force, these muscle fibers sustain minor damage. Our muscles grow bigger through the process of repairing these small damaged areas. Since protein is necessary to repair these small injuries and make your muscles bigger, you should exercise and also consume protein to build muscle. That's what people say. I think it's easier to understand if you consider the reason behind it. So, how much protein do you actually need to build muscle? To increase muscle mass, it's generally recommended to consume 1.6 to 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. So if you weigh 60 kilograms, you need to consume between 96 and 120 grams of protein. Even if you just want to avoid losing muscle, you should still consume at least 1 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight per day. In other words, even at the minimum amount, someone who weighs 60 kilograms should make sure to get at least 60 grams of protein. And it's also said that the timing of protein intake might be important. Have you heard of the term morning protein? Morning protein means taking protein in the morning. While we're sleeping, our muscles are in a state where they're more likely to break down. By consuming protein after waking up in the morning, you can stop the muscle breakdown mode and boost your metabolism for the day. And to add to that, if you don't eat any protein in the morning, you'll have to consume over 100 grams of protein just during lunch and dinner. Eating over 50 grams of protein in one meal is tough. Let's take a look at some actual meal examples and get a feel for how much protein is in each meal. For example, in a Western style meal, let's say you have a slice of bread, a fried egg, a cup of yogurt, a banana, and a glass of milk. How much protein is contained in this meal? This meal contains about 20 grams of protein. How about a Japanese meal? Rice, grilled salmon, natto, and miso soup. How much protein do you get from these foods? They contain about 23 grams of protein. Even if you keep eating at this pace, you can only get about 20 grams a day for a total of 60 grams of protein. If you want to get 100 grams a day, these amounts aren't enough. Now you can see how difficult it is to get enough protein, right? If you're not getting enough protein, taking protein supplements can also be effective. Especially by taking protein right after exercise, you can promote muscle repair and growth. However, I think it's important not to rely too much on protein supplements and, if possible, to get your protein along with all kinds of nutrients from real food. So I recommend using supplements only as a support. Also, if you're going to the hospital and advised to limit protein, what I said in the video doesn't apply to you. If you're worried about whether it's okay for you to consume enough protein, I recommend visiting your regular hospital or doctor and consulting with them. In my case, I'm also lacking it. While taking protein through supplements and other sources, I used a service called LeanBody to calculate my protein intake by taking photos. That way, I could keep track of whether I was getting enough protein each day or if I still needed more. Up to this point, I've talked about how important protein is, how to take it effectively, and shared some specific meal examples. I've focused on protein so far, but the key is combining protein with exercise. If you only take protein and don't exercise at all, the protein will just turn into fat and you'll actually end up gaining weight. However, exercising without protein can make your body more likely to gain weight. That's why it's really important to make sure you get enough protein and establish a regular exercise routine. So, the moment you've been waiting for. In the 6th period, I'll show you what kind of exercises I actually did to build muscle and successfully lose weight. I'll share effective muscle building methods and tips for making your body easier to slim down, so please listen until the end. In fact, using this method, I was able to lose an impressive 3 kilograms in just 1 month. Until then, I had experienced one setback after another. I wasn't really fond of exercise, so even when I started working out thinking this time for sure, I couldn't keep it up and kept failing. However, after I discovered an online fitness service called LeanBody, things changed dramatically. I was approached by the company and honestly tried it with some skepticism, but once I actually gave it a shot, my body started changing rapidly. I felt I had to share this, so that's why I'm introducing it to you. Making exercise a habit has health benefits for everyone, so I decided to introduce it to you as a special recommendation this time. The biggest feature of this LeanBody service is that, as users say, exercise becomes enjoyable, and that's why you can keep it up. You can continue while having fun. I actually started myself, thinking that I could manage if it was just 10 minutes a day. I use this service so often that if I skip a day of exercise, I feel like something's missing. As you can see, LeanBody has over 1,000 lesson videos. There are various types such as Pilates, yoga, cardio, strength training, boxercise, dance exercise, stretching and massage. You can choose from different genres so you never get bored. Moreover, these are exercises you can do with just about the space of 1 tatami mat per person, so you can do them at home even if you don't have a lot of space, making it easy to get started. And using LeanBody and its services was also very easy. First, as you can see, you can easily search for your preferred lessons. And what impressed me the most was the content of this service called LeanBody. You might already know this, but there was that Billy's Bootcamp that was popular before, right? Billy himself actually teaches the lessons. But when you hear Billy's Bootcamp, doesn't it give you the impression of intense and tough training? But LeanBody is the Reiwa era Billy. So, the lessons are prepared to be quite gentle, and even for someone like me who doesn't usually exercise, I was surprisingly able to keep going easily. As I mentioned earlier, the meal management feature is well developed. I'm using this to manage my protein intake. Furthermore, you can also log external workouts outside of lessons and record your weight, so I was able to visualize my exercise progress. In fact, when I tried LeanBody for a month, I started to see changes in my weight. Rather than obsessing over losing a certain number of kilos, I wanted to build muscle and maintain a healthy body, but as a result of having fun and continuing every day, I was able to lose about 3 kilos in a month. So, if you're concerned about your body shape or weight, I highly recommend using Lean Body for dieting purposes as well. Furthermore, I also noticed improvements in my health. I have really bad stiff shoulders, but by doing stretches and yoga, my flexibility improved and I don't get tired as easily while working. And mentally, after coming home tired from work, moving my body in a fun way helped me relieve and release stress. I used to think I didn't want to exercise when I was tired, but surprisingly when I actually did it I felt refreshed. So, on days when I'm tired, I actually want to try exercising, and getting into that positive cycle was unexpected even for me. So I think Lean Body is very effective for people who are aiming to improve their health. In this way, continuing to exercise has a big impact on our health. At YouTube Medical University, we've often explained that exercise is crucial for preventing arteriosclerosis, which clogs heart and brain blood vessels. By doing about 150 minutes of exercise per week that makes you short of breath, the risk of your heart's blood vessels becoming clogged in the future drops by 14%. The risk of stroke drops by about 25 to 30%. That's not all. There is even solid data showing that it also lowers the risk of diabetes and actually lowers blood pressure itself. As a result of these effects, there is data showing that exercise can even reduce the risk of future mortality by about 22%. To enjoy your later years your way, it's important to keep your muscles strong, as exercise also helps lower the risk of future clogged blood vessels. By using Lean Body and continuing to exercise enjoyably, you may be able to reduce the risk of serious illnesses such as heart disease, stroke and diabetes by about 20 to 30%. And this service is actually much more affordable than signing up for a typical gym. The regular monthly fee for Lean Body is 1,980 yen, but this time, just for everyone watching this video, they've prepared a special coupon for 50% off. That means you can use this service for just 980 yen per month. I think most regular gyms cost around 10,000 yen per month. When you think about it that way, it's a really great deal, isn't it? Here is the coupon code. This coupon is valid only for the 12-month plan. I've included it in the description of the video, so please check it out there. It's really difficult to keep exercising regularly. Exercise definitely has a positive effect on your health. This is truly a great service. That's why I wanted to share it with you. If you want to enjoy exercise or manage your protein intake to efficiently build muscle, boost metabolism, and make weight loss easier, I recommend this service. Let's recap. Protein intake and exercise are the main pillars of building a healthy body. Eating only protein can cause weight gain, and exercising alone may also make your body more likely to gain weight. I emphasized that exercise is important not just for building muscle, but also for overall health and mental well-being. It can lower the risk of heart disease, stroke, diabetes, and so on by about 20 to 30%. Exercise is truly essential for building good health, and consistency is power. Quitting after a few days is meaningless. How can you keep going while having fun? I also introduced a service called Lean Body. Finally, what I want to emphasize is that building good health is not something that can be achieved overnight. Even your smallest efforts will be valuable in the future. Today is the youngest you'll ever be. Please start investing in your own health from today. By using the service called Lean Body, you can continue exercising while having fun and properly intake protein. Please everyone, consider focusing on protein or exercise and try starting with at least one. I'm sure wonderful changes are waiting for you. Please share in the comments what you're incorporating, healthy eating habits, specific recipes, and the exercises you're doing or want to try in the future. Please let me know in the comments. I hope everyone watching can encourage each other and improve the channel's overall health together. And whether it's a thumbs up or a thumbs down, if you rate this video, it will help us improve next time. And from now on, I will continue to share easy to understand videos that can help you become healthier starting tomorrow from a doctor's perspective. If you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new videos, it would really encourage me. This was a long video, but thank you for watching until the end. I'll see you in the next video. As a general practitioner, my patients have taught me how to live agelessly after your 70s.